Coming up next on Tech News Today, the Snoopers Charter is now a thing in the UK, and some of it's a little scary. Also, Facebook Messengers got game. Amazon might release an Echo with a screen. A look at the hardware history of Apple. And the Muni hackers got themselves hacked. See how that goes? All that and more coming up next on Tech News Today.
This is Twit.
Bandwidth for Tech News Today is provided by CashFly at CACHEFLY.com.
This is Tech News Today, episode 1650, recorded Tuesday, November 29th, 2016. This episode of Tech News Today is brought to you by Harry's, for guys who want a great shave experience for a fraction of what you're paying now. And just in time for the holidays, get $5 off the limited edition holiday set at harrys.com and use the code TNT.
Welcome to Tech News Today. This is the show where we talk about everything you need to know about technology today. And we are the Professor Harold Hill and the Marion the Librarian of Tech News.
This is one of those times where you get this look for me.
Anyone? Music Man.
Oh, whoa. We're going to actually see that this weekend.
You are. It's great. We saw this weekend.
Was it good?
It's really good. I mean, who doesn't love 76 trombones? I mean...
I used to play trombone, so I really love that.
Well, good. Then,
all right.
Then you understand exactly what I meant, which was nonsense.
I will. Actually, I will in a week.
Okay.
I'll know much more.
The UKs Snoopers Charter will officially pass into law in 2017. In 2017, the Investigatory Powers Act, that's its official name, requires web and phone companies to store customers' internet connection records for a year. And today, it officially received the Royal Assent from the Queen. This despite widespread disdain for the bill and a petition which has received at least 130,000 signatures against it. The only amendment to the bill requires that politicians' conversations not be spied on. So not so good news for the UK. And, they're kind of an example and not so good. Hopefully no one in the United States will see them as an example for what we should do here. But they could.
I think it's pretty darn likely we're going to see this in the U.S. in some way, shape, or form. Everything seems to be kind of pointing in that direction. The UK is setting a precedent here. Many are calling this the most extreme surveillance law in a democracy, in a modern democracy. This is pretty significant. Around 50 organizations can request internet history, without a warrant. Those who do investigative journalism have a lot to be worried about, just as part of their jobs. This is crazy stuff. And I think this is just the beginning.
Yeah, I mean, unprecedented access to their information, says The Guardian. It's bulk collection of data, which is something not so great. So, maybe it'll be repealed. Yeah, I mean, that's possible.
When I looked on the petition, it's now at 141,000 signatures. I don't know, though. Sometimes I see these stories like this and then, but there's a petition. It's got, so-and-so thousand people. What exactly does that lead to? I mean, by and large, does that actually affect change? It shows that a lot of people are interested, are concerned. And I think at a certain point, it forces their hand at least reevaluating or looking at it once again. But I don't know how much sway does that actually have in the whole process.
I have wondered that also. Like, what does it matter if I'm signing online petitions for what I believe in? Is anyone looking at them?
It's better than putting an update on your Facebook wall that says, "I do not approve."
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, so maybe that's a little bit better. Messaging apps like Facebook Messenger, once upon a time anyways, were all about chatting with your contacts. Then the bots arrived to the party, convinced that people wanted to chat with them and buy things through them and stuff. I'm still not totally convinced about that one. But now Facebook is adding in a bunch of instant games into Messenger. That's 17 games built on the HTML5 standard, meaning they don't need to be downloaded to play, and they load pretty quickly and instantly almost. The games are a mixture of old school classics, games like Pac-Man, Space Invaders, Arkanoid, along with new titles from studios like Zynga and King. I tried to play some of these. I've got the little game icon in my Facebook Messenger. You can challenge people who you're already in chat with, and I think that the big kind of appeal here is that they're pretty short games, right? They usually last around 30 seconds per round. It's supposed to be kind of, quick response. Like you're just there, you're chatting with someone, you're like, hey, let's play a round of blah, blah, blah. You tap the game button, challenge, and you hop right into it and you play a game. I couldn't get it to work though. And I don't know if it's my phone or my app. It gives me the icon, but when I try and do it, it's like, this feature doesn't work for everyone yet. But you got it to work. Are you
talking to me?
I
had to beat my Anthony's score on Words with Friends.
We're doing a show, Megan.
It's distracting, as you can tell. But yeah, I didn't see the tiny little, like you said, the tiny little game controller icon at the bottom in Messenger. Yeah. If you have group messengers, if you have messenger groups, you can all participate and, compete. If you're super competitive like I am, this is fun. But yeah, I also play, like, I just discovered Words with Friends on iMessage, which is similar. And I love it. It's just like a little connection you can make with someone and then, move on to the rest of your day.
As long as there's not a huge amount of commitment, it's more of like just a spur of the moment. Like, I think I'm going to hop in there and do this real quick and play around.
But yeah, nice. It does appear that it's only available maybe on iPhones, maybe.
No, it's available on both platforms. I just don't know why my particular phone is not. I mean, it's the icon's there. Like I can go into it and even pick from the games. Like they're all there. It's just when I hit to play, I get the little toast message that says this feature is not yet available to everyone.
And that's a Pixel.
Yeah, it's the Pixel. Who knows? Who knows?
Sad. Maybe they just think because you have a Pixel, you're more productive and you don't want to be playing Pac-Man.
Yeah, it's saving me. That's what I need my apps to do, is prevent me from playing games.
I know. I really do want to play Words with Friends, but I probably should do this next story instead. So as early as the first quarter of next year, you might be able to buy an Amazon Echo with a touch screen on it. Sources at Bloomberg say the device will have updated speakers and a tiltable 7-inch screen. Now, I am all for innovation in devices, but part of what I love about the Amazon Echo is that it doesn't have a screen. I think I've already displayed my addiction to screens, so that I like that it's just a speaker that I can talk to and get weather and news and music and not have to then check my email or play Pac-Man.
Yeah, I completely agree. I suppose there are certain ways that like an Echo, or in my case, in my house, we have the Google Home, so it's kind of the same thing. With a screen could be useful if you're doing a recipe. If you're trying to do a recipe just by voice and audible, prompts for each step, that can get a little confusing. So
have
maybe
you tried that?
Maybe no, I haven't tried it personally, but I can imagine. I know I've heard it done, but I've not tried it, like actually making a meal with it.
Yeah.
Like I just feel like you get lost, and if you lose the syntax along the way, that wouldn't be the best thing. So having a screen for something like that might be nice, but yeah, I want less screens, not more. And I feel like the thing I love about this kind of category is the fact that I don't have to use the screen that's in my pocket, even though it does many of the same things, if not more. I don't want to have to use that screen as much. I'd rather have an appliance, even if it's limited in function, but it's still really good for certain things, then that gives me the benefit of that kind of access to that technology without the downside, which is me looking at another screen all the time.
And I've said this before, but I do think some of the success of the voice speakers, like the Amazon Echo and the Google Home, is that you don't have a screen, so you have to make it work. Like you'll ask Siri one thing and she'll say, I have no idea what you're talking about because I'm a computer. And so you'll just, pick up the screen and like, fine, I'll do it myself, Siri. But then if you're talking
see Siri, see what I have to do now.
Yeah. But if you're talking to the Amazon Echo, you might keep, I'll ask it a different way. I'll ask it a different way because the voice is the only way I have to interact. And then it learns, it gets better, and you get less frustrated.
Yeah, and maybe you learn and get better too because you realize, that's the syntax that I need to remember to do next time.
Yes.
And I don't know. That's just I'm loving the Google Home primarily because it's really good at parsing the things that I say and converting that into the action that I intended. If I then have to like go to the screen. Like, I suppose more features in some ways, that lines of thinking is better than less features. And I get that, in a new category like this, they have to try and continue building it out and creating, new angles to it. I just feel like it's maybe in some ways a step backwards, but maybe some people really want this in it.
And it's not a surprising thing for Amazon to do. I mean, they do, like Google, throw a lot of things against the wall and see what sticks. So I'm not surprised that they'll have, you know, this device that has more features and then other devices that have fewer features. I mean, they have the Dot and the Echo and the Tap, which I've never seen in the wild someone actually using it, but it's out there. You know, they have a million different Fire tablets as well. So yeah, and this will be also running the Fire OS, which is fine, but you don't ever hear anyone saying like, "Oh, I love the Fire OS. I'm a Fire OS fangirl." I don't know any. If you are one, please email me at megan@twit.tv.
Yeah, I have a feeling people are less iOS fangirls or fanboys of the Fire OS and more fans of the Amazon ecosystem, and it happens to be running that, you know. And I suppose Amazon's already done all the hard work around, you know, creating that particular OS, so it makes sense to shovel it over. I just don't know how necessary it would be for me. Uber has seen tremendous growth around the world, and one of its most important markets is Europe. However, a case in the European Court of Justice is challenging how Uber operates within the market, seeking to determine whether Uber is in fact a transportation company and thereby beholden to national rules around transport, or whether it's a technology company that acts as an intermediary, simply connecting drivers with passengers. There's a lot about this that really sounds familiar with, you know, between this and the Facebook argument of, is Facebook a platform versus a publisher, and how that kind of defines what the technology company can get away with, and, you know, what kind of hurdles it doesn't have to worry about because it doesn't necessarily classify itself, or rather an external entity doesn't classify it as one thing versus the other. Certainly gives Uber a lot more freedom if they're a technology company. So obviously that's why they're pushing for this. But I don't know. The lines are blurry.
Yeah, the comparison between Facebook being saying we're not a publisher, and Uber saying, you know, we're just a platform, both of them saying we're just a platform, is really similar, because what's missing there is the acknowledgement of the people, right? Like the need for people. You know, you need people right now. You need people to drive Ubers, and you need to pay them a living wage, you know, or you need to figure out how, like, in what way can they have a job driving Uber and still have, you know, figure out a way to get health benefits and other things.
Right.
And the same way with, Facebook saying, like, we're not a publisher. Well, you want to be a publisher, except you don't want to hire editors or fact checkers or any of the things that people still need to do and get paid for. This, you know, that skilled workers still need to do. So yeah, there's been a lot of Apple news today. There's also not Apple News, Uber News. There's a day of disruption. A lot of Uber drivers and healthcare workers are protesting in many different states for a minimum wage of $15, which to me doesn't seem like that much to ask. So, yeah. And also Trump's pick for U.S. Secretary of Transportation, Elaine Chao, is very pro-Uber. She's very pro, it's just a platform and business in that way. So,
okay.
Yeah, I didn't want to use the word ride sharing because, I don't know, it seems it's not really sharing.
That's true.
Ride hailing.
Ride businessing.
She calls it ride sharing. Like, anyone who, wants to avoid the dirty business of what Uber really is will call it ride sharing. It's nice.
Right.
But yeah. Huh. So we'll see.
Yep. You got this one. Never mind. I'm going to let you say
You get
things.
it because I can play. No. Electrolux is introducing a new service that's like AirBNB, but for washing your dirty clothes. Because who would not want to let complete strangers share their washing machines when they're not using them? According to Engadget, Swedish washing machine maker Electrolux wants to create the laundry Uber, where you pay to have your clothes washed in someone else's machine. That way you can buy a new fancy smart connected washing machine and then make the money back while you're not using it for most of the week. My washing machine and dryer are basically running all the time, but I guess there are people who don't do as much laundry as I do.
I know that feel. I know that feel very well. Yeah.
Maybe that would work for them. So I don't know. This is just like, this was kind of a funny story, but it's based on some things that the CEO of Electrolux said. He says there's still enormous challenges. Like, what if you ruin someone's clothes?
Right.
Who pays for that? I mean, because personally, I don't know about you, but I don't separate whites and darks. And I know that some people are going to probably unsubscribe after hearing that, but I just don't do it. I don't have the time.
But you know what it might pay off though if you have a washer or dryer that's in use for other people's clothes, because every once in a while money comes out of the wash, and I mean I think it's yours if it falls out and you're doing somebody else's laundry. So that's just my opinion.
That is
take
true.
it with a grain of salt. I don't know. When I read this, I thought that it was actual strangers coming over to use your washer and dryer. I guess it makes
so
more
vague
sense
right now that I think it's like, I think you would make an appointment and then you drop your clothes off
Come
like
on in,
you're a
or
laundromat.
drop it off and I'll do it for you. And then what? You're folding the laundry for them? Yeah, I don't know whether it's they come into your space and use your washer and dryer and then leave, or whether you're doing it for them. Either way, doesn't sound like a whole lot of fun. But hey, we're monetizing everything that we own nowadays. I suppose this is no different.
Now, this is true sharing economy, not like
Yeah,
Uber. This is
right.
sharing. This is real sharing. So the title of the Engadget article was like, are you comfortable with strangers coming into your house and using your washing machine? And I love this in the Engadget comment section. Somebody wrote, my family has run a laundromat for nearly 50 years, so I've seen what random people do to washers and dryers. So my answer is no.
Yeah, no. You never know what they're running through that equipment and whether it could be good or bad for it.
No.
So yeah, count me out. I'm not in. Up next, a look at the history of Apple hardware with Stephen Hackett from 512 Pixels joining us for that. But first, let's take a minute to thank Harry's, the sponsor of this episode. They brought me this clean, close shave today. Harry's, it's holiday shopping that really kind of stresses people out. We're kind of in the midst of it right now. It's super stressful. Finding a thoughtful gift that's also useful and practical can feel impossible. Look no further. Harry's is the perfect gift. If you haven't heard of them before, Harry's was started by two best friends, Jeff and Andy, who were fed up with being overcharged for razors. So they started their own razor company to give people what they deserve, a great shave at a fair price. And this holiday, Harry's is offering a limited edition shaving set, midnight blue chrome razor handle, which you can get engraved with initials if you like, 3 of Harry's German-engineered 5-blade cartridges that provide a close, comfortable shave, foaming shave gel that smells awesome. You're going to love the smell of that. Beautifully designed gift box so that when you unwrap it, or whoever you give this to unwraps it, it looks super special. The box is really well designed and everything's presented nicely inside it. It elevates the product even further. Goes for $30 on Harrys.com, but as a special offer for fans of the show, we partnered with Harry's to give you $5 off your order when you visit Harrys.com and enter code TNT at checkout. I, of course, gave my dad a Harry's kit a couple of years ago. Then last year, some refillable razors. He's already kind of on the regular refill train, and he loves Harry's. I do as well. So you should check it out. Makes the person feel special. It's a practical gift, high quality, reasonable price. They also offer handles and sets starting at just $10. So you've got the whole gamut, the price gamut, if you haven't tried Harry's for yourself. Go to Harrys.com right now to get $5 off a limited edition holiday shave set while supplies last. And don't forget to enter the code TNT at checkout. Free shipping ends on December 9th, so act now. That's Harrys.com and use the code TNT. And we thank Harry's for their support of Tech News Today. So a few weeks back, Apple announced a new coffee table book. We talked about it a little bit on this show, titled Designed by Apple in California. It's an expensive, many people would say, photo collection of many of Apple's products from over the course of the company's existence. Joining us to talk a little bit about the broad collection of products is Stephen Hackett from 512 Pixels. How's it going, Stephen?
It's going well. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. It's great to get you on here. So what kind of caught our attention, Megan's, and then she passed it to me, and it was really impressive. You produced a video. It's up on YouTube that matches the actual hardware shown in the book with hardware from your own collection. First of all, how long have you been collecting this kind of hardware? This is an expensive hobby.
It can be an expensive hobby. I started a couple of years ago. A friend of mine gave me a G4 Cube for a birthday present, and something about it just really spoke to me. And then, you're up at late at night on eBay on your phone, and you're on Craigslist, and you're, emailing people. And before you know it, they have this photo book, and I was flipping through it. And I was like, oh my gosh, I have almost all of this stuff. Wow. And then I spent 48 hours in my office filming, and now it's out there for everyone to enjoy /mock.
I would not mock it because I think it's actually really well done. Now, obviously, it's a short. Well, I don't know, what is the video, about 4 minutes? Is everything represented here, or are there things you left out?
There were a couple things that I left out. Like I couldn't find one of my Apple TVs. I know I have it somewhere, but I think it got lost in the move somewhere. And there are some things in the book that I don't have, but the vast majority of what overlaps I ended up in the video.
Okay, so the don't have part. When you're a collector of this kind of stuff, very curious to know what you don't have and what you wish. Well, I guess what you wish you really had, what you're envious of when you've got a book like this.
Yeah, I mean, so right now I'm trying to track down a couple of items. A lot of the stuff I'm sort of lacking now is before this book. You know, that's really interesting. This book is really kind of like Johnny Ive and Steve Jobs' return. Like it's that era of Apple. It's not,
right,
you know, before 97 or 98. In fact, the first thing in the book isn't even the original iMac. It's the slot loading iMac, which was a couple of revisions in. So a lot of what I'm looking for now is kind of before this book. But, you know, I kind of chuckled. The Mac Pro, the 2013 Mac Pro is in there. And I don't have one of those. But I think, you know, if we revisit this in 5 or 10 years, I think I'll probably have one of those first generation Mac Pros on the shelf.
So now I have many of those iPods, but most of them went through the wash at some point and don't work. Does most of your stuff work that you're showing off here, or some of it not work?
Most of it does. So, you know, some of the iPods are kind of hit or miss with batteries and that sort of thing. Almost all the computers in the collection boot and run, especially, again, this era, you know, the last 10 or 15 years. When you get older than that, like I've got some stuff from the mid 90s and some stuff from the 80s, and that's a little harder to keep running. I've got some stuff that, you know, could use some repair, but for the most part, stuff boots and runs, and it's fun to fire something up and, you know, play Oregon Trail or something like we did way back in school.
I have to imagine also when you're buying these off of like Craigslist and eBay, I mean, are the systems wiped off and clean, or do you find like old legacy software installed there?
Or people's credit card numbers?
Maybe, unfortunately, but you know that happens too, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, if you're talking about Mac OS 10, you know, maybe worst cases, there's a user account on there and you can't get into it. The older stuff, it ranges wildly. I've purchased machines where the seller says, you know, I'm going to pull the hard drive, and I'm totally fine with that. It just depends. I have a pretty large software library now too. So if I need to rebuild something, say, you know, I get a PowerBook and I want to put OS 9 on it, I can do that. So if anything boots and runs, one of the first things I do is I, at the very least, format the drive, even if I don't install something, just so I have a clear conscience that I don't have anyone else's data, you know, hanging out in the studio.
For sure.
So I'm probably going to ruin my Apple fangirl cred here, but what's the deal with the socks? What's the story behind those?
It's this crazy accessory that Apple put out. It's like these 5. I mean, we're talking about your awesome R2D2 Christmas sweater. Like that's what these things are. Like they're knit, like iPod sleeves. Really, they're not really protective cases, of course. I mean, a sweater isn't protective at all. But they came in 5 colors, and there's actually a 6th one that's not in the book that they gave away at the Boston Apple store when they opened. It's a red iPod sock and it says Boston on it, which is kind of cool. And it's like this weird little thing. Like I have no idea what Apple made it. They sold it for like 8 years. Who knows? I mean, who knows? But I kind of find it funny. I kind of, you know, I think it's a cute little accessory that I guess some people bought. I don't know. I bought mine on eBay. I didn't even buy them new.
I mean, maybe if you have a weird shaped foot too, it might work as a sock.
Tiny foot, yeah, tiny.
Yeah, tiny and square, rectangular foot.
You have a click wheel in your foot. You're set.
Right. Where do you keep all this stuff? I mean, I have to imagine when you're collecting items like this, like they aren't small. Well, some of them are small, and I think actually Apple prides itself on some of these items being small. But, I mean, do you have a lot of space to store this stuff? Is it easy to kind of peruse for you to find what you're looking for?
It's better than it used to be. So I'm a full-time podcaster and video maker and writer. So I have a studio, and about half the square footage of the studio is now 2 sets of shelving where a lot of the computers are. But like the iPods and stuff, what I've discovered is file cabinets work really well once you take everything out of them. So, you know, you can put iPods and iPads and like small things into file cabinets. It's really dense. But it is a problem. You know, I've got, for instance, I have all 13 colors of the iMac G3, and they take up a ton of space. And so right now, some of those are like kind of neatly on the floor, kind of against the baseboard. I gotta work through that still.
Gotta fan them out. Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, when you're going so far as to not just collect one of every item, but to collect all of the color variations, that takes it to a whole another level. Are you buying? I mean, you're buying these obviously many years after their heyday. Does that mean that you're paying not very much for these things, or are they still pretty expensive?
It really depends on what it is. So something like the 20th anniversary Mac that I have, an embarrassing amount of money was spent on that. But other stuff, like the iMacs, for instance, you can pick up a nice iMac G3 for maybe $100. Okay. Those 13, I put a blog post up and I said, hey, I want to do a video with all 13 color iMacs. If you have one you're willing to part with, let me know. And so about half of those iMacs came from readers of 512 pixels. And, some people didn't even let me pay shipping. Some people did. But about half of those were given to me for the project. And so that helps, it helps the budget.
Sure.
But it really just kind of depends on what you're looking for. And there's highs and lows to it. Some things will be in more demand for a period for some reason. And then, then kind of they'll fade from prominence and be cheaper. It just, you got to kind of look around and see what things are going for.
Mm-hmm.
So I know you became world famous a couple months ago when your iPhone 7, your brand new iPhone 7 started hissing, and you exchanged it. They gave you a new one. Do you think like in a couple of years you'll be on eBay looking for a hissing iPhone 7?
I actually don't have very many old iPhones in the collection. I'm like I think most like Apple fans. I have a few vices. I think John Gruber said this once, that one of his vices was buying a new iPhone every year, and I have that. So I always like sell the old iPhone to bankroll the new one. So at some point I'll be chasing all those around, and if I get a hissing one, then that'll just be like the universe, getting back at me for that YouTube video.
Yeah, you can make sure and frame that and put it on the wall. It'd be like framing the first dollar bill or something.
Exactly.
So obviously you're very connected to kind of all things Apple hardware, all this kind of stuff. We're near the holiday season. Well, we're actually in the thick of the holiday season at this point. If people have things that they want to buy for their Apple, whatever they want to buy a gift that's Apple, what should they buy? What do you think?
Yeah, so I'm a huge fan of like accessories that make your setup like cleaner and nicer and neater. So I picked two things kind of in that vein. The first is a combination iPhone Apple Watch stand by a company called Studio Neat, the material dock. It's made out of walnut and cork. It's really nice looking. You put your Apple cables in it and you can charge your devices. And it's really nice. Like it's so much nicer than having a lightning cable, across your desk or across your nightstand, where you can just put your phone and watch down on this nicely designed thing, and it's all kind of tidy. The other thing that I really like, in fact, I just bought one for myself, is the 12 South backpack, and it's just a little kind of aluminum ledge, and it's got some little I don't know what you call it, like little attachments that go on the back of the foot of an iMac or the old Thunderbolt display. And so what it does, it puts a horizontal shelf behind your display, so you can put like an external hard drive or a USB hub or a Thunderbolt hub, and it's not on your desk. It's like suspended behind the iMac on the shelf, nice and secure, nice and tight, but out of sight and kind of out of mind. And so I just picked one of those up. I'm going to put my Time Machine USB 3 hard drive on that, so it's not kind of floating around behind my desk. And it's just a nice way to kind of tidy things up. If you have a lot of stuff on my desk, I'm sure a lot of people do. Anything I can do to minimize the clutter is something that I always enjoy.
That's cool. Like you could put your phone back there, and then you wouldn't be like, if you had notifications turned off and you needed to work, you could put your phone and hide it.
Exactly. Out of sight, out of mind. Yeah.
Exactly. So it's just really versatile. They even have a picture on their website, I think, of like a MacBook Air back there on a Thunderbolt display. So you can really make a nice, clean, minimal setup with the little accessory.
Nice. Cool. Well, thanks for taking time to kind of talk to us about all this stuff. Oh, actually, my last question real quick, is the Apple Book worth the price tag? Because it's expensive. It's like $199 for the 10.2, the smaller version of the book, $299 for the 13-inch version of the book. What do you think?
It's real expensive. I would be more willing to recommend it as a gift if Apple had included the stories behind the products. Yeah. Like, I could have made this book. I mean, I basically did a YouTube channel.
Right.
I wish Apple had gone more into the how and the why and the reasons behind the products and the decisions they made. If they had, it would have been a no-brainer recommendation for me. At this point, I think it's only probably worth it if you're a really hardcore fan or really have someone in your life, these holidays that's really into this stuff. I think for even like the casual user, that's a pretty big expenditure for something that may be hard to justify.
Yeah. Well, that's really cool stuff. Thanks so much for talking with us about this. Stephen Hackett, of course, 512pixels.net. Where do you want people to go to find out all the work that you do?
Yeah, 512pixels.net is great. And then I podcast over at relay.fm, so you can find me either two of those sites.
Right on. Excellent. Thanks for taking the time, Stephen. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. Have a great night.
We heard from Matthew B. Howell. He writes, while I've been listening to and watching the whole Black Friday craze on various news outlets, I think of the following. My 47-inch TV that I bought in 2007 still works really well. My 2008 iMac bought in 2008 still works really well. My Dyson vacuum that's 5 years old still works really well. My LG refrigerator that's 6 years old still works really well. My microwave that's 6 years old still works really well. I didn't feel the need nor the desire to buy anything this past weekend. The only item I ended up buying on Cyber Monday was a direct from China watch. I paid $7 for it after shipping. So thank you, Matthew.
It's easy to fall into the trap of must upgrade because there's a new thing and must have the new thing and all that stuff. Especially that's the trap that you fall into with Black Friday, Cyber Monday. Because it's on sale, you convince yourself that you need it. You're not actually saving money. You're saving money if your intention was to buy it all along and then suddenly it's on sale.
Right.
If you've just now decided to buy it because it's on sale, well, you're actually spending more money. So there you go. It's a good reminder. TNT's fan of the day is Jordan Oll on Twitter, who says, I watch while filling out PMs at work. I really need a signature stamp. Ain't that the truth? I imagine that gets old, but at least you've got TNT playing in the background to power you through it. So there you go. Show us how you watch or listen to TNT. Just record a video or take a picture of yourself or your setup. Post it on Instagram, Google+, Twitter, or Facebook, and use the hashtag HowIWatchTNT, and we're going to find it.
Yesterday, we told you that the San Francisco Muni system had suffered a ransomware attack, and now it appears that one of the hackers has been hacked. Brian Krebs of Krebs on Security says an anonymous individual contacted him to say that he or she had guessed the answer to a security question in order to reset the password on the email account that sent the ransomware message. The anonymous white hat security researcher also managed to breach other email addresses and Bitcoin wallets belonging to the hacker or hacker group that goes by the pseudonym Andy Saolis. That researcher showed that the Muni hacking group had earned $140,000 by using similar ransomware attacks. Now, the SFMTA says it never considered paying the ransomware. And just a little advice, don't answer your security questions truthfully. And if you have another option besides security questions, take it.
Yeah, this is really solid advice as far as those security questions are concerned, because I mean, especially in this day and age of people putting so much out on social media, that can really kind of crack the puzzle if you do answer those security questions. A lot of times I have to imagine the answers to those are said passively over time. So it's probably easy for someone who really wanted to find the answer to that. So picking some gibberish. I just think this is because they were able to get into this email account and then another one based on the whole security question, I guess it asked the same security question. They were able to access that. It gave a really interesting insight into how this works behind the scenes. Really just kind of opened the book, as it were, to kind of show who was taken by this particular hacking group, the techniques that were used, and what possibly could have prevented it. Researchers basically recommend regular backups of data and keeping those not connected to computers or to the network. When the backup is done, that way it's completely offline. So if something like this happens, they've captured that data and they've encrypted it so you don't have access to it. Instead of having to pay the ransom, you have the backup and you're good.
Mm-hmm. And so it was good also that the hacker who hacked the hacker didn't post his email address. Otherwise, it would become like Russian nesting dolls.
Yeah,
and then the hacker who hacked the hacker got hacked, and then the hacker that hacked the hacker that hacked the hacker got hacked.
Oh, my brain just exploded.
Yes.
Oh, that hurt. Yeah, exactly, though. TNT records live every Monday through Friday at 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern, 11 p.m. UTC at twit.tv/live. You can be part of the show by emailing us, tnt@twit.tv. You can leave us a short voicemail, 260-TNT-SHOW. And you can find us on Twitter. We're at Tech News Today TV.
Now, if you've listened this long, then I'm going to ask you for your help. We need your help. Subscribe. Tell your friends to subscribe, especially if you're around family. Don't just tell them to subscribe. Subscribe for them. You know, if you're
Grab
on
their
the
phone
holidays,
and be
take
like,
it.
"Let me
Here's how
just-"
you do it. And the other way we need your help is we are working on our best of episodes for all the shows on Twit. So please visit twit.tv/best of and submit your favorite moments of 2016. Fill out a very short form with the show name and the episode number and the time code if you have it. I already received one for TNT, which I'm going to check out. I haven't looked at that time code yet, but thank you. We will use it somehow. But mostly it's for all of our other shows, which you might watch. And find all the ways to subscribe to our show at twit.tv/TNT. And if you want to tweet at me, I'm at Megan Maroney.
And I'm at Jason Howell on Twitter. Thanks to our technical director, Kara Cole. Thanks to Burke for scrolling words and looking hilarious in our company holiday photo. You'll see it soon, probably on the stream, I'm guessing. Kevin for editing and making us look good. And thanks to you for talking tech with us today. We'll see y'all tomorrow. Bye, everybody.